And next up, we have the Maryland Food Safety Program update. It's going to be brought to you by a tag team, Angela Ferelli and Carol Allen. They're both agent associates for the University of Maryland, basically for the plant sciences and landscape architecture department. And anyway, the food science program and food safety program is an excellent program. It's integrated with Maryland Department of Agriculture and the campus and with our field faculty and extension. Thanks for coming, Angela and Carol, and you may go ahead and take it away.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Dave, and thank you, Emily, for having us here today. Can everybody see the slides that I've got? Give me a little thumbs up if we can.
Yes, we can.
Great. Fabulous.
And you sound great too.
Thank you. Good. So for those who have not met us yet, my name is Angela Ferelli and my colleague Carol Allen will be tag teaming this presentation, the 2020 Produce Safety Landscape in Review for Maryland. If you do not know us, we're both agent associates with the University of Maryland who help farmers in Maryland reach their food safety goals, whatever that may be. If you are a small direct marketer who's just starting out and wants to develop your food safety culture on your farm, we can help you with that. And if you are a larger farm who needs some assistance working through like a harmonized audit and preparing for that, we can also help you with that as well. So we are going to be talking about two different topics in this talk. First, I'm going to be covering some recurring items that have come up during produce safety inspections and audits this year from the MDA's perspective. So we thought it was important just to convey some of that information to you guys and give you some tips to prep for the 2021 season. And then Carol will transition to talk about state and federal regulatory updates to get us ready for 2021 as well. So the first item that we wanted to talk with you about is just a common observation on farms that MDA has seen during inspections for the produce safety rule, and that's an issue with record keeping. So we just wanted to take a second to reiterate and just speak about records a little bit. We know in produce safety, we say this a lot, if we didn't write it down, it didn't happen. And for the produce safety rule, there are a couple of key activities and key items that have to be recorded so that you are aligning and compliant with the produce safety rule. So we're just going to take a second to remind everybody what those explicitly are. So in general, if you're keeping records, even if you're keeping records for GAP, we would go ahead and recommend that to all the record templates you have, you just add your farm name and address to the top. It's one sort of red tapey thing that's required for the produce safety rule and something that you can put on your templates this winter to get ready for the next season. And then also another reminder that you got to be writing things down as they happen. Try your best not to backfill the records because they should be recorded at the time of the activity. So this is just a summary of all the records that you could need if you are subject to the produce safety rule. I have it kind of annotated here. These are all the records that you could need if you're subject to the produce safety rule. And then if you are pursuing a GAP audit, we have here, for an example, an MDA GAP audit, there are some extra records that you would need, but you see there's a lot of agreement between what you would need for a GAP audit and what you would need to be PSR compliant. So you could do a lot of double dipping, and we definitely don't want you to duplicate efforts. So if you're doing something for the PSR, you can go ahead and double dip for the MDA GAP as well. Just a reminder, the records that you would need to keep to be PSR compliant, it's your worker training records. If you're doing any water tests at that time, go ahead and keep those records as well. Your annual assessment of your water distribution system, there has to be a record for that. And we've got videos on our website to take you through how to actually do that sort of assessment. If you're making your own compost, there's a record for writing down the turns that you do and the temperature recordings. If you're purchasing compost or if you're purchasing poultry pellets, there's a record called a certificate of compliance that you can ask your supplier to give you. And that's basically just a record that tells you that they have treated that amendment with some heat or something that was able to kill any pathogens that might be in the raw amendment before it gets treated. Another record that you need to keep is sanitizer monitoring. If you're a farm who is injecting sanitizer into your irrigation water for water quality purposes, or if you are adding sanitizer to produce wash water, so if you're washing your product in dump tanks and stuff. And finally, a record for cleaning and sanitizing your equipment. So that is all that's needed for the PSR. So you can see here that some of these records, in addition to having the farm name and address, some of these records do require a space at the bottom for a supervisor to review all that's been written down and sign and date it before it gets filed. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this just for future reference. And we also have it up on our website as well. So you can, kind of work this winter to get all your record templates ready for the next season. Another topic that has been seen during inspections and audits this year is related to sanitizer use. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. So this applies to people who are using sanitizers as an injection in their irrigation water for produce, for food safety purposes. If you're using sanitizer in produce wash water, and if you are mixing up sanitizer or when you are mixing up sanitizer as a solution to clean food contact surfaces. So first, it's a good reminder to emphasize that sanitizers that you use for produce safety are registered pesticides, and that means that we've got to follow the label directions for use. And it can get a little tricky at times because even one sanitizer, for example, Pure Bright Bleach, has different use label directions for if you wanted to use that product in produce wash water versus if you wanted to use that product on surfaces to sanitize surfaces. Those different uses have different concentrations with them, potentially different wait times, potentially one would have a rinse and another use doesn't. So it's important to read through that label, and it can get kind of long. These labels are, they can be like 15 pages long. So take time to read through that label if that use is not written directly on the bottle. And if you have any questions about how to read through or which use to pick, what is the label use that you think is appropriate for you, you can please feel free to ask us, and our emails will be in the later part of the presentation. So the best way to look up what label or the use on the label is to reference the EPA registration number, which is usually on the bottle. It should be on the bottle. And you can also use a couple of good resources. There's an Excel plugin that the Produce Safety Alliance has made that has a list of sanitizers for produce safety, and you can look up the EPA registration number there. You can also go to the EPA website and directly look up the registration number to get a full and updated label if it's not given to you with the product. So to help you calculate how much you need to mix of your sanitizer into your dunk tank or other vessels that you're using, we found some good resources to help you with that. The University of Vermont made this really great Excel plugin to help people kind of with their calculations of, if you've got different tank sizes and you need some help on figuring out how many fluid ounces to add to get a desired ppm of a specific product that you're using. So they have it both in a single point calculator, and I've got a screenshot here of the table lookup, so you can add what the product concentration of your specific product is, and it should auto-populate how many fluid ounces to add in what size tank you have for a desired concentration. So for example, the 5.3% here is the active concentrate of Sanidate 5.0. So you would just take your Sanidate bottle, you would add what the product concentration is, and then if you had a 50-gallon tank and you want to make a 60 ppm solution, because that's what the label says, then it would auto-populate here, and now you know that you have to put 7.2 fluid ounces of your concentrated chemical into this size tank. So that's important, and I hope that this makes it a little bit easier, because we do see a lot of times that people will just dump, a little bit more than what they think they need because they just want to be sure. And, that's unfortunately an off-label use, and you're also wasting money because some of these sanitizers are a little bit of money. So we want to make sure that we're using just the right amount to get the ppm that we need to be effective. A little bit more on sanitizer. So after you feel comfortable with mixing to get the right concentration, checking the concentration with pH strips is also a good way to monitor your treatment. And the produce safety rule has a piece of regulation in it that says it's important to monitor the whatever water treatments that you are doing. So pH strips is a good way to get there. And ppm strips as well. And we found 2 good suppliers that have ppm strips for chlorine products. They've got pH strips, they have peroxyacetic acid strips, and strips for monitoring coronary ammonia. So you can get them here. And sometimes also the product that you're buying will give you a good like how to check the sanitizer. So in addition to monitoring the treatment, like if you're using it in produce wash water, using ppm strips is a really great tool to allow you to, number one, check your workers, how well your workers mixed up the sanitizer. And 2, it also lets you know when you need to add more sanitizer to wash water or when you need to change that wash water. So it is a multifaceted tool to use. I will note that these pH strips are finicky in that most of them expire after a year. So it will be, when you start buying these and using these and feel comfortable with them, just add a little note to yourself on your calendar, maybe every December, that you got to re-up your supply, because when they're expired, they don't work as well. They'll give you not accurate results, and we don't want that. I'll end the cleaning and sanitizing section with a new opportunity that the Maryland Food Safety Group has for farms who are looking to either validate their cleaning and sanitizing procedures if they're prepping for an audit, or if you're a farm who wants a little help in targeting where the dirty areas are that you should be focusing on this winter, or if you're a farm who is just starting to make their cleaning and sanitizing strategy and they're not sure what sort of pieces of equipment or what areas to prioritize. We are starting this service. It's a swabbing service, and it's also a technical assistance follow-up service. So if you're interested, you can go to go.umd.edu/swab and enter your contact information, and we can follow up with you on more information about this project that we're doing. Another small to-do that everyone can do to prep for 2021 is about thermometers in your cooler. This was another observation that MDA tagged as an observation of interest during their inspections. So the PSR wants the thermometers that you use to be accurate, precise, and maintained. And this can be achieved in a couple of different ways. And we do see people struggle with this sometimes. If they have a cooler that has a number on the outside of the cooler, some people think like, okay, that number on the outside is fine. I don't need to do anything else, right? But in order to ensure that that number is accurate and precise, you can either add, another thermometer inside the cooler that you check the calibration of every so often using the ice bath method. And we've got a resource right here in case you've got questions on how to use the ice bath method to check if your thermometer is correct. Or you can use an infrared laser thermometer to ensure that the inside of the cooler is the same temperature that the number on the door on the outside is saying. And then if you do find that you need to calibrate your thermometer, we have another resource here to get you started down that path as well. The last hot topic for this year from inspections is about worker training. If you remember, the produce safety rule requires that workers have training to perform all the duties on the farm that impact produce safety. So that means duties like scouting and maintaining the irrigation system, applying amendments, harvesting product, working with animals, washing product, sorting it, packing it. So all of those things need training. We know that a lot of farms are already verbally, informally training their workers. So the thing here is just getting to the space where we feel comfortable and we have an efficient process to record that and write it down. MDA has made a great vignette or series of videos. If you want to show your workers videos on specific worker training tasks, they have one for pre-harvest, they have one for harvest, they have one for working with animals, and post-harvest. So that's a series of 4 videos. They're available in English and Spanish. And they also have really good templates that are just let you do check boxes that say, okay, this worker was trained in all pre-harvest activities. This worker was trained in all harvest activities. So we're hoping that that makes it a little bit more efficient to really get that record piece down. And if you have any questions on how to make recording more efficient, please feel free to ask us. So now I'm going to switch over to Carol, and she's going to walk us through state and federal regulatory updates.
Well, good morning, everybody. Next slide, Angela. So Angela got the fun stuff and I get the other stuff, okay? So as of May of 2020, MDA through the auspices of FDA are able to give us a temporary enforcement discretion for qualified exempt farms, okay? So if you're under the produce safety rule and you are that middle area somewhere between 25,000 and under 500,000, you could file for a qualified exempt status. And if you want to know more about that, talk to Angela or I, because it's a whole big deal. Next slide, please. Okay, so FDA, MDA know that during the COVID crisis, that a lot of farmers have had to shift their buyers. And one of the key parts of the qualified exemption is using a qualified end user. And again, this is pretty much everybody that you're using already. This would be your grocery store sales, as long as they were within 275 miles of your farm. So most of your sales are qualified end users. But again, in this time of COVID, some of that may have shifted. What this guidance does is allows people to use the maybe not so qualified end users and still be qualified exempt. And this will last until the COVID crisis is over. So that's going to be for your 2020 sales, which you'll use in your rolling average for 2021. Next slide, please. Okay, so something that's ongoing, and you may not realize how important it is to you guys, is Maryland farms who grow produce need to register for them with the Maryland Department of Agriculture. And what this does is that it allows MDA to get more money from the government. Yeah, we like doing that, okay? And this will give MDA more funds to plan education and technical assistance, as well as inspection and enforcement activities. Next slide, please. Okay, so you need to, if you are a produce farmer, you need to register with the MDA, all right? And the website is right there. Hopefully Angela will put that up in the chat. And if all of this just baffles you and you're just going, oh my gosh, no, not another form, okay? We have this wonderful video that Angela made that will walk you through the procedure of registering. So feel free to follow that URL to our YouTube channel, and that will help you out. Plus, you can always get in touch with Angela and I, and we will walk you through the process. We really enjoy talking to our farmers. Next slide, please. All right, so water testing. If you haven't started water testing, you really should get into the practice, and of course, keep those records in your farm food safety plan, or keep those records by you. You need to know what your water source is doing. We have a wonderful little video, again, on our YouTube channel that'll walk you through the process. So why am I bringing this up? Because the proposed FDA is going to come out with hopefully more guidance and some proposed rule changes before December is over. This is threatened to be by the end of 2020, and it's going to be revising certain agricultural water requirements. This is now produce safety rule compliant. And we don't know what exactly that this is going to entail. Is it going to be more testing, less testing? We don't know at this point, so stay tuned. What we do know is already in play is new protocols for research and development and registration with the EPA has already been made for manufacturers of irrigation water sanitizers. So this is kind of a 1-2 hit here. We know that folks who do use surface water, you can't always tell what your levels are as far as bacterial concentrations. We do look at generic E. coli as our indicator, and that can change very, very rapidly. So some folks, some farmers that I know, do use an injection system of irrigation water sanitizers. So what this new protocol hopefully is going to do is open up that field and give those farmers who want to do that infiltration of sanitizer more products to choose from. But stay tuned, but do get familiar with water testing. This is a short little video and it'll walk you through it. Next slide, please. Okay, so probably the big one that's come up, and this was announced in September 29 of this year, is that the FDA proposes a new rule involving food traceability. All right, so this is going to be not just produce growers. So this is another rule like the produce safety rule. There is some overlap, but they are separate. What this is going to do, and again, this is proposed. So remember, what is proposed does not necessarily end up in the final rule. And I'm going to give you a URL to get into at the end of these slides where you can make comments. So this is your time to actually comment on this proposed rule. So what this is going to do is the FDA wants to track certain high-risk foods. Now this is beyond leafy greens, etc. What's going to be of interest to us, the Maryland produce farmers, are cucumbers, fresh herbs, leafy greens, including fresh cut leafy greens, melons, peppers, sprouts, tomatoes. We don't have to worry about tropical tree fruits quite so much here in the mid-Atlantic, but it's there. Fruits and fresh cut vegetables, okay? Next slide, please. So is this rule going to apply to you as proposed? Well, if you sell over 25,000, primarily selling to wholesale buyers, yes, okay, and that's 25,000. It's a little bit more because we adjust for inflation. So what are the exemptions? And this is probably most of you listeners are going to have some of these in these exemptions. So what is exempt is food produced on the farm that is sold directly to the consumer. This is pick your owns, sales at farmers markets, roadside stands, those internet sales that Margaret talked about, any of your CSA folks, these are exempt. If you are involved in farm to school or farm to institution programs, those are exempt. Nonprofit food establishments, and Angela and I have worked with several over this summer, you're exempt. And then there's this interesting little packaging thing where if you're producing food and it is in a protective package that you sell to the consumer, that is exempt, okay? If you want to find out more, and there is more to this rule than we can talk about, there's the URL and you can learn more about it, or of course you can contact Angela and I and we'll go over it with you and see if what you're doing is going to be affected by this proposed rule. Next slide, please. Okay, so what do you have to do? Really not much more than you're already doing. You want to keep crop records for about 18 months, and you're probably already doing that because that's just good business practice. Now, FDA refers to these as key data elements. So when you read the rule, they'll say KDE, that's your crop records, okay? What the farmer is responsible for is assigning a lot number or a traceability code. If you've had produce safety rule training, you've already gotten a taste of this. And what this is assigning a lot number to a crop from a particular field that was harvested in a particular time, okay? So if you harvested green beans in the middle of August and you had a certain number of field hands that were working there, those are records that you would have you would put that lot number or the traceability code on that particular harvest unit. So its location, your field location, and your time are blocked. You don't want to You don't want to have a traceability code for every green bean that you harvested this summer. No, that's going to make it really awkward in the case of any kind of traceability. So this, you might have to think about this a little bit as to, well, what interval and who was on and what were my inputs. So that's something that you need to have records of. The interesting one that surprised me is that this rule, as proposed, is requiring GPS coordinates for that field. So you'd wrap all of that up in a record and keep that with your general farm records. Now that traceability code on that harvest interval from that location is going to go forward to the first receiver, which would be your wholesaler or whoever that you sell it to. The proposed rule is up on the Federal Register for comment now. Next slide, please. All right, so we just gave you an awful lot. All right, and we understand. Oh boy, that was a whirlwind tour. So please, we invite you to check out our website. We keep just about everything on top of what you need to know as a produce farmer in the state of Maryland on our website. We also have a weekly newsletter, which is fun. We produce that every week, mostly. We're taking a break right now. We'll start up again next week. So that's a good, we keep up to date what's happening now. And then we have our YouTube channel where we translate some of these rules and regulations and procedures into fun videos, which are kind of easy to swallow. Also, Angela and I, we love to do on-site consultations with our farmers. Angela covers Baltimore and Eastern Shore mostly, and I cover Southern, Central, and Western Maryland. So please feel free to contact us if you have questions. Next slide, please. So this is a lot, okay? You feel like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to take a refresher course. Yeah, we can do that. So we have a basic GAP presentation. This is virtual, coming up on February 15 and 16. This is an 8-hour presentation, and we put it into 2 4-hour bites to make it a little bit more palatable. And then if you feel that the produce safety rule is something that you need to comply to, or you're coming on in 2021, you think you might need to comply. So we have again, a remote transmission coming up on January 19th and 20th for the produce safety rule. Now, if you are MDA GAP certified and you think that you want to jump into the higher waters of harmonized GAP certification, you're opening up your marketplace. Angela and I do that on a one-on-one counseling basis, so please contact us. Next slide, please. All right, now, Angela and I love to make classes, and we want to make classes that are appropriate to your needs. So we are concocting 1 hour-long advanced GAP topics. So this might be delving deeper into cleaning and sanitation. It might be delving deeper into water testing because we will have that FDA rule. So that may change how you're doing things. But we want to make this so that it's convenient for you. Now, of course, being a morning person, I suggested to Angela that we do it 6 o'clock in the morning. She wasn't happy about that. So what we are asking for you to do is if you could put in the chat what time block, just loose time block is better for you. You're awake, you've got enough coffee, you're relaxed, you're ready to take in some information. And these will be informal and fun. Trust me, Angela and I, we specialize in fun food safety. So if you could put in the chat that the cocktail hour, and no, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to BYOB, is better for you. Or lunchtime, you wanna take that break, and that's gonna be better for you. Or you really do like that 6:30 in the morning time block. We'll get Angela up. And please let us know what is gonna be best for you. We will take your feedback, we'll organize it, and we will invite outside speakers as well as us, so we won't bore you. And we're going to just choose some of the food safety topics that need a little bit more discussion. And hey, give us some suggestions, all right? So we can take questions, both Angela and I think we've got a couple more minutes. How can we help you?
Well, that was an excellent presentation. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Carol. The questions, I see B and C is coming up as your poll there for the better, looks like cocktail hour. That might not be the one. So go ahead. Got another couple minutes, questions for Carol or Angela. And again, that was a great synopsis. I don't know how you did it, but you managed to cover an amazing amount of territory. Give us a great update in food safety. My, there's so much to take in. It's a lot. So thanks for being there. Thanks for the great team too. I know it's a great team
Thank
at
you,
Maryland.
Dave. Thank you, Emily, for allowing us to come in and talk to us or talk to everybody. And if you are an ag agent, remember too, we can be a liaison between you and the farmers. We are open for contact, call us, email us. We really are on top of our emails. So if you ag agents have any of those, oh my gosh, what do I do now questions, please feel free to contact us. And thank you again, guys. Appreciate the opportunity.
We're getting requests for all these different links that are coming up. And I don't know if we're going to be able to capture all of them in any kind of sensible order. Best thing I can say is the veg news. When we put out those veg news issues, and you can look at past issues, you'll find links to all these, amazing things that are going on behind the scenes for you. Alrighty.